waiting for? Now, Wheeler, attack his red eyes with your Panther Warrior.
I'll attack with Rocket Warrior.
What?
And the target shall be Yugi's Magnet Warrior.
But I commanded you to take out his red eyes, Wheeler! This can't be! He's not responding to the power of my Millennium Rod!
Not so fast! I reveal my face-down trap! Activate Magic Arm Shield!
Hello, hello, hello. Check, check. 1, 2, check. Alright. Good evening, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and all that stuff. As you can see, these are the story engine, the original one that is just called the story engine, and also the Deck of Worlds expansion, other new set from the story engine, which is also like the name of the whole line of products. I find it very confusing, but hey, what do I know? So these are the original ones. I had this for a while, had this for a while also, had them both for a while. This guy, you can see, got kind of different coloring, and if you look at the sides here, it's a little inconsistent coloring. That is 100% because it was just in a spot on my shelf that the sun would love to beam down on all throughout the day. So this one's a little, it's got some character, we'll say. It's got some character. And the Deck of Worlds looks nice and shiny. I don't have as much natural sunlight opportunities in my current apartment, so there you go. This was used to make basically like prompts for stories that you can kind of springboard off of and develop. And the Deck of Worlds is, of course, for making locations. I did a little overview video on this guy. I did a live stream going through this and making some locations. I've got an overview video that's going to be coming out really soon for this one, just so I can have little things for each. And then tonight, I'm going to be going through and unboxing, for real, like from the box it was shipped in, the new set that's called LOREMASTER. Which is kind of, I don't even know how to describe it. I think they've done some live streams and stuff where they've shown, like, the prototypes and stuff like that, and maybe even, like, actually used it a bit. I haven't watched any of those. But you know, I'm very excited. I've been pretty excited for this for a while. I just checked the backer kit page. The first ones were done through Kickstarter with backer kits where you can, you know, do like late pledges and adjustments and buy add-ons and all that stuff. And then this one was the actual campaign for it was done through backer kit. And so I pulled that up because I was like, has it been 2 years? I feel like it's been 2 years since they took my money. You know, which is just fine. I'm getting really, really tired of these long lead times from these crowdfunding campaigns, you know. Things used to be so simple on there. Some dude had an idea, they put up a Kickstarter page, and then, you know, if I got money, you'd get it. And you'd just be like, oh, cool. Hey, I spent money on this a month ago. Neat, I got it now. Nothing's like that anymore. You buy a comic book, you get it 6, 8, 10 months later. You know, something like this or a board game, forget about it. It's going to pop up one day if you haven't moved in the interim. And you're going to be like, what the heck is this? I didn't order shit. You know, it's, I don't know. Not as simple as things used to be. So, this was delivered Christmas Eve. And I got the notification. I didn't know what I was being sent because, like, the notification from my my post office informed delivery email that I get every morning said it was from some really odd company that I hadn't heard of. And then it turns out it was this. So that's exciting. But I didn't have time to really open it up then, much less do a live stream, because I just had Christmas Eve plans. I was going over to a buddy's house. So I let it sit there. But then as I was waiting for my ride, I was like, you know what? Let me just open up the box and just take a peek at what's inside. So I did that. So I opened it up. And I was like, I'm just going to take a quick peek to see. I just want to take a look at the packaging, maybe read the back of the box, or boxes. There should be a good chunk of stuff in there. And so I open up the box, and I pull out the packing paper, and it is just this completely solid foam cube. Like, it's just foam. So I was like, okay, I guess I won't open it up tonight. I'll save that. Now, I also pulled up my backer kit order. Because, and I pulled this up every, like, I don't know, 3 months or something to just refresh my memory. Like, what did I order? What did I buy from these people? So as far as physical things that should be in here, I've got like PDF versions of the card sets and stuff, which I've had for a while now. I think they're final versions, but I don't know. I have to go and check. I think they're final versions of the PDFs, but so I should have the LOREMASTER deck itself. I should have the 2 bridge expansions that are card sets used to help you integrate these with the respective previous sets. So one bridge expansion, so you can use these with the Deck of Worlds, and one bridge expansion to use the LOREMASTER ones with the storytelling prompts. And then I should have a Lore Mastery expansion set. Now, this is another thing I'm not a fan of. And, you know, obviously it's a little weird in this case because this isn't a game, but sometimes you'll get games that'll come out on Kickstarter. They're like, oh yeah, $80, here's the game. And it's the first time the game's ever gonna be out. But if you give us an extra $50, here's the expansion too. It's like, what's happening? This is insanity. And then there should be two little enamel pins. So we will check that out. We'll go through the guidebook, and we'll see what's happening. I know I'm not supposed to cut towards me, but because I'm not currently under any like workplace safety regulations, I'm gonna do whatever I want basically. I think this is gonna open like this, I think. We'll see. I also should be wearing some safety gloves and potentially a visor. But again, this is a one-man operation, so I can be a little loosey-goosey with a lot of these things. Oh, this is exciting. This is exciting. Oh, look at all this stuff. Okay, where do we even begin? Okay, we got Master of Symbols, Master of Names, Master of Gods. These should be expansions. And then we've got Story and Lore, Story and World, World and Lore, Bridge expansion. So 3 expansions, actually. I lied right to your faces. Okay. This is pretty nicely packaged. I mean, the foam insert is like... Oh, look at that. Do you see that? I never would have noticed it. The foam inserts are, you know... Everything's very custom. I like that. It's nice. Okay. So let's crack open these guys first. So this is one of the pins. Weave your lore. It's got a double backing there. Weave your lore. Alright. Nice. And then this one is a Story Engine logo. The Story Engine. Very nice. They definitely are quality pins. I've got a sizable collection of various pins from places. I mean, I don't know what sizable is in terms of pins. I think pins are pretty common nowadays. Not to like take away anything, because when you see a well-made pin, it's, you know, it's nice. It's very nice. I've done a couple pins myself for little comic characters that I've done in the past, and these feel good. All right. Okay, what do we even do first? Okay. Well, let's get to the main event, and then we'll take a look at this. This is a big box. This is one box. This is quite a long box. The previous two were about the same size. Deck of Worlds is slightly taller. So you can see it's roughly the same on the short edge, but the long edge we got an entire other row of cards, it looks like. So that's kind of intimidating. I remember when I was opening up the Reckless deck, Psyche, on stream as well. It was just like overwhelming. Opening up that box and seeing all of the cards and like feeling the weight of the box. And I get the same feeling from this. It's not as heavy, but it definitely has the intimidation factor. Oh, look at that. Weave your lore. The Story Engine, LOREMASTER's deck, is the ultimate creative jumpstarter for writers, game masters, and world builders who want to fill their stories with rich, interconnected lore. LOREMASTER's deck uses 8 card types to generate customizable and interlinking lore prompts. Okay, we've got factions. So, factions figures events, locations, objects, materials, creatures, modifiers. Factions are organized groups from shadowy druid circles to powerful artisan guilds. Figures are individual characters, from trickster folk heroes to anarchic rebel mages. Events are important historical moments, from bloody battles to magical cataclysms. Locations are landmarks and geographical areas, from labyrinthine cities to secret springs. Objects are This is pretty interesting to see like what they've chosen for this set versus other cards, because like they were called agents before, and it seems like they're basically the same thing. These were called anchors before, and they even got the little anchor logo and the same agent logo, but different actual name. And then location has a logo used before, but those were called landmarks. So, interesting. Objects are items and artifacts, from deity-slain spears to dimensional lockpicks. Materials are physical resources, from shape-shifting ink to living metal alloys. Just a little tip here. You gave 2 very similar things as examples for materials: shape-shifting ink and living metal alloys. Could you have just given us one material that isn't some sort of shape-shifting? Well, I guess living metal isn't necessarily. I read that and I just immediately thought of like the T1000, right? But I guess living metal doesn't have to be a shape-shifting type thing. But I feel like it's still, it's like, it's 2 things that are, I don't know. I guess I'll give you a pass on that one. It's okay. You're fine. You're still good. We'll see what other things I have to nitpick about that are ultimately meaningless. Creatures are life forms, from mountain-sized snails to spell-eating beetles. Modifiers, which is using the, I think that's the same logo they used for the aspects in the first set. Modifiers add details and enhancements that make every creative session unique. The system is powered by your imagination, providing a simple, fluid framework for you to generate lore ideas by creating clusters of lore cues. Each new piece of lore builds on the last, helping you weave a web of intrigue that binds your world together and makes your story rich, complex, and immersive. Learn more at storyenginedeck.com/lore. Alright, let's see. In the same vein as being nitpicking, I think the technology for making cardboard boxes to hold decks of cards, whatever size or shape they come in, these ones are square. I was opening up, standard rectangular decks that I had purchased. Dungeon Quest decks, I think it was just called Dungeon Quest. I ordered a bunch of them because they were on sale for Black Friday, and I already had 2 decks. So okay, I'll pick up a few more. And the way that the flaps had little ridges, and it's it all tucked together very nicely. Impossible to open up without just completely scraping skin off of your fingers. It's disgusting. I urge people to figure something out with these decks of cards, the boxes that hold them. It's absurd. Now, I'm not above just going hog wild and just completely destroying a cardboard box. Listen, I understand I probably would want to store the cards in that box. I also, if you test my patience, which some of these card boxes do, you're done. I'm done with you. I'm gonna tear you apart like a wild animal, and I'm just gonna move on with my day. I got stuff to do, and you know, I'll bandage up my fingers or whatever I gotta do. All right. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Cool, a cardboard slip box that I'm just never gonna use. It's beautiful, don't get me wrong, it's beautiful. But like, I want to use these cards. I don't need a slip box to put over the very nice, beautiful, you know, flip open lid box. Why? This is trash. Who's got time to take it on and off when you're gonna use these? I can't. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. I have, you know, a dozen or more little slip cases for these types of things sitting in my closet. I can't bring myself to throw them away. But why would I ever put them on? I don't understand it. If someone could explain it to me, I would like that, but I truly don't think I'll ever see your point of view. All right, let's take a look. Oh, there's like a light magnet in there. This is beautiful. Okay. Hear that magnet closing sound? Love it. The LOREMASTER's Guidebook. Oh, what are these? We got some cool little pegs. Oh man. Just soak that in. That looks nice, doesn't it? Okay, introduction. The Story Engine LOREMASTER's deck is a set of 300 double-sided cards for creating webs of new and exciting lore for storytelling and world building. It's a powerful tool for writers, world builders, storytellers, DMs, GMs, and RPG groups. The only rule, quote unquote, when using LOREMASTER's deck is this. The goal of the deck is to help you create. Oh, that's it. There you go. The goal of the deck is to help you create. Ignore any mechanic that doesn't serve this purpose. And that's one of the things that I really like about these types of tools is that a lot of them, if not all of them, you know, most of them, certainly Story Engine and the Reckless deck, you know, make it very clear, like, use it in a way that works for you. You know, we'll give you some guiding principles, we'll give you some suggestions, some, like, you know, ways that you can use the cards to generate ideas and stuff like that, but do what works for you, and I love that. How the deck works. LOREMASTER's decks, I'm so tired from Christmas and work today, super slow, but that pretty much meant I spent half my shift, like, in my office. I share it with someone. We only have one computer. We kind of need two. But staring at my emails, and like no new emails were coming in. All the like fancy corporate people that would be sending me dumb emails were taking time off. But there was nothing else to do. It was, I'm not complaining, but it makes you tired. Okay. Where was I? This book contains guidelines to help you weave threads of lore and story as fluidly, imaginatively, and clearly as possible. The deck is designed to be as open-ended and creator-driven, so please modify our guidelines to suit your creative process. How the deck works. LOREMASTER's deck helps writers and world builders create ideas for fictional figures, factions, events, locations, objects, materials, and creatures, and organize these ideas into a web of connections and relationships. Okay. Each lore element is created by drawing 5 cards one at a time and arranging them in an organized stack called a lore cluster. I'm a big fan of calling groupings of things clusters. Each lore cluster you create will suggest links connecting it to other cards or clusters. When you link multiple lore clusters, the resulting structure is called a lore web. A lore web can be small, just a few connected lore clusters, or can be massive, consisting of a sprawling network of power-hungry factions, eclectic characters, shocking events, and fantastical creatures. It only limits your imagination and available table space. Okay, I already went through the actual card types. How the cards work. Every lore card in LOREMASTER deck has 2 sides. Each side features 4 cues, which are short suggestions to help you brainstorm new elements or details for your lore web. The primary side of each card features cues printed in white text on a colored background. Primary cues are short, usually just one word, and establish what type of lore element you're adding to your web. For example, will your new figure be an autocrat, strategist, artisan, or map maker? One of the things that I have done with previous story engine decks is I would take the print and play PDFs. I would slice out not slice out, that implies work. I run them through a free image extractor from PDF, so I get just the square files of the card images themselves and the backs. And then I take those and I turn them into card deck files for Tabletop Simulator. And, you can make decks, you can shuffle them around, you can, do whatever you can do with a real deck of cards, right? And sometimes I would use that, and then I could do, screenshots to save stuff I come up with. So this, that's something that I hope to do with this. As well, and I think the idea of having a massive virtual table to really mess around with this stuff and just be like, how big of a lore web can I weave? Especially if you've got some kind of rule set that you're following or some level of coherency you're trying to maintain. It just seems like it would be a fun. Just sounds like a fun time to me. Okay, secondary side. The secondary side of the card features cues printed in colored text on a white background. Secondary cues are tucked underneath primary lore cards of the same type to describe them with additional details, such as backgrounds and agendas. Some secondary cues contain links that connect to other lore cards or clusters, indicated by one or more icons at the end of the cue. Alright, so let's go ahead, let's open these up, and before we go on to some of the examples and stuff, we will take a look at the actual cards, and we'll kind of get a feel as we go through. So these are, I assume, what we're going to be using to connect clusters to other clusters. So it seems kind of interesting, because we've got these that are just modifiers. Then we also have these that are modifiers as well as non-modifiers. So, kind of interesting there. The previous ones, they just had regular card acts, and you had basically just a modifier type card that you would tuck underneath the various other types of cards. So not only do we have the dedicated modifier card set, we also have, I'm assuming these are going to be pretty generic, so they can be used with most of the card types, if not all. And then these are going to have ones that will be super specific to whatever type of card or type of story element that they are, they apply to. So let's see. These are the modifiers, which of course have the same type of design as the secondary side on all of them. So we've got suave, booming, dull, academic. We've got draining, artistic, fanatical, burned out. We got weatherproof, extravagant, modern, steadfast. So, alright, and these are going to be factions. There was one add-on that I was debating on getting. A couple. I don't have any of the playmats for the story engine, and I desperately need to set aside some cash one of these days and get those. They're a little less practical as some of the other ones because there's no like layout set up on them that you like use the cards with, you know. It's just a design, but I still really like them, and I just, you know, get to it when I get to it. But I really wish I got those. But there was another thing with this one set. There was like a journal, like a physical journal that basically had tabs for all the different types of cards and maybe some other stuff even. And it was basically like a, alright, it seemed to be, you know, as you're going through and you're using the cards, you can kind of translate them into the journal to kind of set them in stone, so to speak, and keep track of, you know, what you come up with without having to, you know, take pictures of all the cards or, you know, leave them all out on your table for, you know, weeks on end or whatever. And I do kind of wish I had gotten that. When I was checking the websites a month ago or so, I was on the website and I actually picked up like some PDF stuff. But the website had it listed as not, like it wouldn't have come with this order, for example. It was, I want to say it was like March or something, but, so that's taken a little bit longer. So maybe I still got time to pick it up, but it just seemed really interesting. And ultimately, one of my goals with this card set and with the other similar type of tools that I use is I want to create a kind of digital thing that I can use to store these in and kind of use that as like a story Bible type of thing. So I did a live stream messing around with Deck of Worlds a week or two ago, 3 weeks ago, I don't remember when that was. And then I took pictures of all of those, and I'm going to go through and I'm going to do it with Reckless Deck to create some characters for the locations, and I've got those Dungeon Quest decks that I'm going to use for, you know, like setting up like side quests, you know. And I want to translate all of that into probably an Obsidian Vault to start with, and then figure out if I can get that to work with like Scrivener or some of the other things. I saw something recently called Amsel Suite, and it's got 2 programs, and it's basically like a computer program, 2 of them, one for like designing worlds and then one for writing stories, and it's like tailored specifically to RPG groups, I think, but it really looks like something that I think would be really fun to use. And so I want to basically use these tools to create a kind of a rich setting, and then I want to translate that setting into all of these tools that are designed to kind of, you know, house that type of stuff. Where that's Obsidian, which is kind of a general note-taking tool, or Scrivener, which is more designed for writers, or this new RPG one I just found. So, and I just want to see like what the process is for each type of program, what the differences are, which one works best. You know, maybe Notion, for example. A lot of options out there. So that's a long-term goal. I want to do all of the actual world building live like this, and that's just kind of a bottleneck just because I don't have too much time with job and everything. But I'll get around to it sooner rather than later too. Okay, we got the last one opening up here. If I can, there we go. Okay, so we looked at some of the modifiers. Let's take a quick look at a couple cards from each deck, right? So we got, these are factions. We got a flock, an agency, a state, or a coalition. And the secondary side for that one is covered up involvement in an event, and it's got a little icon there. Recover an appropriated artifact. It's got 2 icons there, 2 anchor icons. Taboo involving a material or creature. We got some icons. And cult vibes. I don't know how much I like the use of the word vibes there, but you know, you gotta let. I presume the people that designed this are younger than me, you know, and you really just, let the kids do what they're gonna do. You know, my time's over, right? I just turned 38. I'm done, right? It's not my world anymore. You guys do what you want to do. So, you know, I get what you're saying there, so that's good enough for me, all right? And we've got, first side. Domain, faculty, band, protest. Oh, and they're even, I didn't realize that before, they're actually labeled. So we got 2 traits, a background, and an agenda on the secondary side there. This one had 2 traits, agenda, background. So it's probably going to be the same makeup on all of them, I would assume. Trait, expert harvesters or crafters of/with a material. Excellent propagandists. Guard or capture a god beast. Ooh. Known for creating or commissioning a masterpiece. Alright. We got figures, which would be individuals in our story or in our world. Let's mix them up a little bit and we'll read some. We got a chieftain. This one has a asterisk. We got a chieftain with an asterisk, a trainer, freelancer, advocate. Background, involved in a terrible breakup. Agenda. Find a lost artifact or location. We got 2 separate symbols there, 1 for each. Trait, regionally specific or mixed accent. Another asterisk. I don't know if the asterisk... I don't know. We'll see. Other trait, constantly snacking or chewing something. Damn. That's, who's the detective with the lollipop? That's all I can think of right now. Alright, let's see. This is an event. I'm particularly interested in the Deck of Worlds bridge expansion, Lore and Worlds. I'm excited to use all of them, but Deck of Worlds is my favorite. Deck of Worlds, using it to make locations is unbelievably fun, and I love to make a location, make no location. Maybe I'll move them around so that the cards are kind of how in my head they would kind of be on a map. It's so fun. I love it. So incorporating this with the Deck of Worlds is particularly something I'm looking forward to. At events, we got birth, prank, wedding, tempest. Favorite magic set right there, tempest. Alright, we got... Okay, so now the categories are... We've got a trait, we've got a catalyst, and we've got a fallout, and we've got a catalyst/fallout. So the trait is celebrated by a faction. The catalyst/fallout is destruction of an artifact. Fallout, new tithes, dues, taxes, or tribute. Catalyst, prank, or hoax that got out of hand. Interesting. Because this one has prank here, and then there's one that mentions the prank there. I wonder how often that'll happen. Especially interesting because you can't use both of those cards, because if you've got one of the prank cues showing, the other one's going to be flipped down. So, fun though. Alright, so Election, cataclysm, okay. Feast, reunion. Historical revisionism, that's the fallout. Catalyst, one figure's personal demons. Trait, often misremembered or mythologized. Catalyst / fallout, experimental new material. Okay, and these are locations. Let's grab one from the middle. Wellspring, a word I love. It's just such a nice word, wellspring. Hangout, palace, sand dune. And the locations have 3 traits and a background. So the background, built with a notable material, and the 3 traits, sentient or intelligent, contains an emergency generator or shelter, habitat of an aquatic or flying creature. Ooh, I like that. Okay, one more. This guy. We've got an inlet, a gallery, a town, a greenhouse. We've got the background, sealed or quarantined by a faction. Trait, can't be found or entered without an object. Stuff like that I love. Trait, powered by a material or creature. Ooh. And one of the things I really like is that when they kind of give you, the options there, it just usually really opens up. Trait, considered iconic of the region. Alright, objects. Ooh, I see satchel. It's another word I quite like. Satchel, pike, chest, helmet. Alright, and the objects have 2 backgrounds and 2 traits. So the backgrounds, created in response to a crisis, and then little event icons. Created to prove a point by a figure or faction. We got a figure and faction icons. The 2 traits, indestructible or thought to be so, and self-propelled or self-animated. Alright. And, ooh. One of them said vial. Whenever vials are involved, I get a little excited. But I'll use this one. We got magnifying glass. We got knife. We got canteen. We got hat. Okay. Trait, shapes water, earth, or ice. Trait, conceals or contains a secret. Background, first deployed in a major conflict. Some event icons. Damaged or altered by a notable figure. Little figure icon. Alright. Material. We got tusk. Let's grab the tusk. Cobbles, soap, juice, tusk, materials. Materials have 2 traits and 2 backgrounds. Stockpiled by a faction. Discovered or developed by accident. And the traits are, imparts the qualities of a creature. And medicinal or nutritional properties. Alright, brick, pearl, jelly, explosive. The traits. Bright, multicolored, or diaphanous. Whoopsie daisy. Trait, useful for writing, carving, or sculpting. Okay. Background, used in creating an object, little anchor. Prized by a specific profession. Alright. I like prized by a specific profession. I like that a lot. Alright, let's see. You know what? We're going to do the top one because I like tortoises. Tortoise, shark, moose, songbird. And these have 1 background and 3 traits, so we'll start with the background. Used in the building of a location. Okay. Yeah, I like that. It's kind of open-ended, right? Then the 3 traits. Feeds on the type of object or material. Ossifies, crystallizes, or transforms on death. Undergoes molting, shedding, or metamorphosis. Ooh. Alright, and let's grab this guy. Alright, feline, bee, moss, alligator. The background is killed, a historic figure. The 3 traits, blubber or hump, playful or capricious, undead or ageless. Alright, and then we got the modifiers. So that's a quick and dirty look at some of the cards in each type. How the cards work. Every lore card in LOREMASTER's deck has 2 sides. Alright, we saw that one. Primary, secondary, modifiers. There's an 8th card type called a modifier card, which is not considered a lore card and has no primary cues. Instead, modifier cards have 8 secondary cues, 4 per side. These cues take the form of adjectives that modify or describe primary lore cues of any type. The guidebook will tell you when to draw a modifier card. Creating a lore web. Every lore web begins with a single lore cluster. The starting lore cluster can be of any lore card type, but we recommend new players start with a faction. Okay, if it's going to walk me through, then let me toss this shrink wrap onto the floor of my apartment here real quick, and then let's follow along and see what it does. It's actually going into the cardboard box. So easy cleanup. Easy-ish. Okay. Actually, before I draw the faction card, I'm going to take a quick little peek at what's in this guy. Master of Gods. So we saw a look at what's in the base set, and the Master of Gods has a deity card type, which is set up in the same way with primary cues and secondary cues on the bottom. And then it's got some creatures in there that all have, they've got little deity icons there, it looks like. So these are related to the deity that you make materials, objects, locations, and all of them have the little deity icons. So turning of blank, the blank would refer to whatever deity you're creating, it looks like. Figures, so that's cool. You get a little itty-bitty set of cards for each type, and then you get a whole new main deck. That's very cool. I'm going to go through this now. We'll make a lore cluster along with following the guidebook, and then we'll look at, we'll do a little quick peek-see into one of the other expansions in a second. Okay, so starting a lore cluster, we recommend you start with a faction. So let's pull a faction card, and let's see what we get. Alright. One of the things that I don't like, I like double-sided cards, don't get me wrong, but you can't, like, there's no surprise to them. There's no blank side, you know? So how do you, like, you can't really stack them. I don't know. I mean, I guess, obviously, if the secondary side is face up, you don't know what you're going to draw in terms of what's going to be on the other side, but necessarily, like, maybe eventually over time you recognize stuff, or it seeps into your brain, you know, the connections between the fronts and backs. I don't know, but, alright. Okay, so we've got March, Tribunal, Diaspora, a Covenant. Of course, we're going to use Diaspora, RIP, unless I think it's still around. I also funded that Kickstarter, and they sent me a little CD with their software on it. If anyone remembers what Diaspora was. I told you I'm an old guy. Okay, add a secondary cue. Okay, so establish a primary card in queue. Boom, Diaspora. Draw a lore card. Place the card on the table so the active queue is facing you. Ignore the other 3 queues. Alright, we got a Diaspora. add a secondary cue. Draw a lore card of the same type as the primary card and read the 4 secondary secondary cues. Think about how these details might describe your primary cue and pick one cue. Tuck this card underneath any edge of the primary card, so only the active cue is visible and the rest are covered. I just drew an object. Let me draw the correct card type. Okay. So the agenda: defeat another faction. Background: founded out of spite or anger. Okay. Virtuosos of a magical and mystical art. Rite of passage involving a creature. You know what? We gotta go with a rite of passage involving a creature. So that is the first trait of our diaspora faction. Alright. Complete any link cues. Check to see if the cue you added in step 2 contain any card type icons, which it does, a creature. If so, you've chosen a link cue, which will connect your current lore cluster to another lore card or cluster. Draw lore cards of the types indicated by the icons, read the primary cues, and choose one. Tuck this card under the link cue so only the active cue is showing. Okay, so we're going to draw a creature. I'm going to pick one from the middle. And we'll look at that in a second. So you can see a little picture here. That's the primary cues for the faction they drew, secondary cue, and the link cue under a card type that matches the little icon that the first trait is referring to. So the rite of passage involving a creature. We've got an elephant, a tree, a bat, or a penguin. Obviously, penguin wins for humor, but elephant's kind of humorous too, but we'll go with bat. We'll go with bat. Okay. Complete the lore cluster with secondary cues. Repeat steps 2 and 3, continuing to add secondary cues to your lore cluster and completing any link cues as they come up. Stop when all 4 edges of your primary card have a secondary cue. Make sure at least one of the cues you choose is a link cue, so continue to expand your lore web. Okay. So let's pull 3 more faction cards and pick some cues from there. And in spirit of the primary rule of using these, if there's a card that's just complete dog shit, I'll just pick another one until I get one that's interesting to me. Okay, so background: ousted by a former leader. Agenda: complete a collection. I love that. Trait: strong sense of hierarchy, or reputation for innovation. The agenda of this diaspora is going to be to complete a collection of some kind. And then as you can see, there's a lot of tucking cards involved, which can get kind of messy. So, material or an object? Ooh. Are they collecting a material or an object? I want to do material. I'm going to pick a material. So we'll pick this guy. Beam, fiber, poison, cream. I mean, it's a collection of poisons, obviously. Next, faction, secondary cue. Trait: highly corrupted or corruptible. Background: created or bred a creature. Oh, I mean, that fits in perfectly, right? We have some sort of rite of passage involving a bat. That could be something that they or like specially breed, a unique type of bat, perhaps. Seek a lost or mythical object. We've already got that, essentially. Eccentric leader. So we're gonna go with created or bred a creature. I wonder what I would do, because I want to use the same bat. I don't want to draw another creature. So I guess I won't. We'll figure that out as we go. Like, I would imagine the bat is going to become its own thing eventually. So maybe that's all we have to do. We'll see. We'll see. We'll figure it out. We're doing it live. Last secondary faction queue. Background. Co-founded by friends or rivals. Agenda. Prevent a tragedy from reoccurring. Ooh. Trait. Lovers of food or drink. Strong mental health supports. Let's go with lovers of food and drink. It's kind of an outlier, but I find that's a nice, unique flavor to toss on there, right? Let me see. How's that? There's our current, our first lore cluster. Congratulations. Give yourselves a hand. Okay, step 5. Interpret your lore cluster. Review the cues in your lore cluster and take note of any details that spark ideas. Cues are intended to be open-ended, so you are encouraged to read them as literally or metaphorically as you like, and to ignore any cues that you find unhelpful. You are welcome to rearrange the cards in your cluster and change your choice of active cues at any time. Expanding a lore cluster. Your lore web will grow as you expand your link cues into new lore clusters. Creating a sprawling grid of story elements connected by threads made up of their backstories, traits, agendas, and more. Expanding on a lore cluster works much like starting a new one. Okay, step 1. Start a new cluster. Review your lore clusters for any primary cues tucked under link cues. So we got the poison, we got the bat. And the bat is for both of those cues. Untuck it, rotate it so the active cue is facing you, and place it in the open space beside its corresponding link cue. Boom. Okay. Step 2. Add a modifier card. Draw a modifier and read the 8 cues, 4 on each side of the card. Choose one cue to describe or modify your newly expanded primary card with a new trait. Tuck the modifier under your primary card on the edge of the card adjacent to the lore cluster it expanded from. The arrows on the active cue of the modifier should point from the original cluster towards the expanded lore card. Alright, let's do this. Alright, I'm picking this one. The random one from the middle of the deck. We got the first 4 modifiers. Sticky, malleable, farcical, lithe, dank, spiritual, athletic, transcendent. What is our bat gonna be? As much as I like the idea of a dank or a sticky bat, or dank or sticky, whatever, or transcendent, spiritual. I'm gonna pick another one, and then I'll see how I feel after that one. Imposing, pacifistic, clairvoyant, pragmatic. All right, I'm going clairvoyant. Depleted, illuminated, skittish, merciless. A clairvoyant bat. Boom. So that modifier goes on the side adjacent to the cluster that card came from. It's got little arrows. Look at the little arrows pointing to it. I imagine they'll have a specific purpose. Okay. Tip. Need help tracking active cues? Remember, for the first card in each cluster, the active cue is at the bottom facing you. Ignore the other 3 cues. All other cards should be tucked so only the active cue is visible, even if it is oriented sideways or upside down. Okay. Step 3. Add secondary cues. As in steps 2 to 4 of starting a lore web, draw and tag secondary cues of the same card type as the primary card till all edges of the primary card are full, choosing at least one link cue. Whenever a link cue is tucked, complete it by either drawing new cards or by choosing an existing lore card or lore cluster from your web that fits the cue. These existing connections can be tracked using link tokens. See the link cue section for additional guidance. Tokens, link tokens. This is kind of an involved process, which I expected, and I enjoy it. I appreciate it. Let's see. Step 4: interpret your lore web. Review the cues in your lore cluster and web. Take notes on any new or expanded ideas. Okay, let's pull we have to pull secondary cues from the creature cards. So we're gonna we'll pick 1, 2, and then we'll go to the very bottom there, 3. Okay, so we've got a clairvoyant bat that is used in some sort of rite of passage for our faction there. Trait: partly mechanical or synthetic. See, because like one of the things was that it's created or bred, right? So like that seems to fit, but also like because of that cue, do I need to have this trait? You know, maybe not, right? Pet of a notable figure, notably fleecy, fuzzy, or feathery. Bears single offspring or lays single egg. Huh, that's odd. I like that one. That's odd. I like it. Large colony at a notable location. Poisonous, venomous, or toxic. So we could like really wrap this tightly, right? And have the poison, be related to the bats, but then are they trying to complete a collection? The collection aspect kind of doesn't really fall into that, so I feel like no. But you could. Tunneler or climber, I love that. Very long or irregular breeding or migration cycle. I feel like going with the long or irregular breeding cycle and then bears single offspring or lays single egg is interesting. Okay, we got one more to go. And right away, its trait: projectile attack. Nice and simple. Valued for an ingredient or regent. Okay. Oh, well, I mean, they could be... I'm going to go with that one. The other ones are scale spines or ridges, large clutches or litters, which obviously wouldn't work with what we've already chosen. I'm going to go with valued for an ingredient or regent. And I don't know if that's whatever that ends up being is related to the poison. Probably not, but we've got a lot of options with that, and I think that's a fun one to do. Okay. Growing a lore web. You can continue to expand new lore clusters from your link in the steps. You may expand new lore clusters and grow your lore web for as long as you like. We recommend stopping when we run out of interesting avenues to explore. As the number of lore clusters grows, so will your stockpile of existing lore elements to complete link queues without drawing new cards. When you reach a point where there are no tucked primary cards that you're interested in expanding from link queues, your lore web is complete. Alternatively, you may wish to complete your web when you reach a certain goal, 30, 60, or 90 minutes, 5, 10, or 15 lore clusters. Okay, link queues. Let's see what's up with these guys. Link queues connect a lore cluster to a new primary lore card or lore cluster, creating a web of story and world-building threads. Every link queue contains one or more icons indicating which card types they link to. However, some link queues and connections follow special guidelines. Before drawing a new lore card to complete a link queue, you can review your lore web for any primary cards of the same type. If one of them fits the suggestions on the queue, you can choose to link those two cards instead of drawing new cards. These connections can be mapped using the two types of link tokens included in your deck. So you can do like boop, boop, and just do like that. To map a connection, look at the grid of empty space between the lore clusters in your lore web and plan a route that connects the link queue to the lore cluster that completes it. Place an origin token next to the link queue so the short end points towards the link queue and the long end points along the planned route in the empty space between lore clusters. Place path tokens. So these are the origin ones. These are path tokens. To create a path of tokens, begin with the origin token, end at the nearest corner of the linked cluster. The nearest corner. Something like that. Obviously, you know, you can do whatever you want, but it's something like that. Link tokens can also be used to expand tucked primary lore queues when you run out of adjacent spaces to expand to. Oh yeah, see, they're just using lore. They're just using path tokens all over the friggin' place. Look at that. You got a little color trail. So there's 4 colors, it looks like. And then you get 10 straight arrows of each color, and then I think it said 2 corner arrows, bent arrows. Multiple choice link queues. When a link queue contains multiple icons separated by a slash, draw a card for each icon. Choose a single queue and discard all other cards. Double card link queues. Okay, so some of the queues will have a slash, so that's you pick one basically. And then some will have a plus. So slash, plus, and those you would do both. I haven't seen any pluses. We've got a bunch of slashes, right? I didn't see any ones that were asking for multiple cards though. Oh, okay. Some queues in the deck feature an asterisk. The asterisk indicates queues that relate to sensitive material that could cause harm if mishandled, including depictions of gender, sex, disability, colonialism, and the experiences of racial and religious minorities. Oh, okay. So, alright. Okay. Thank you for the asterisks, I guess. They're literally just next to words. They're not... The asterisks aren't, like, next to, alcohol abuse or anything like that. They're just next to single words, but okay. That's what those mean. What were they even... I don't remember what I saw them around, but I don't remember anything like... I don't know. Alright. Corner tuck. Sometimes the secondary card will have 2 queues you want to use. When those queues are on adjacent edges of the card, you can tuck that card around the corner of the primary card using both queues. Oh my god, look at it. We got a way to build a timeline here. And then that's it. Incorporating other decks. Okay, so let's do a material for the poison. We'll see how that goes, and then we'll look at some of the bridge expansions real quick. Let's do a little shuffly. Grain, coral, crystal, horn. Oh wait, what am I doing? So we're pulling this out and we're doing secondary ones. We'll do a modifier and secondary ones. All right. Disciplined, fortuitous, sparse, adversarial, playful, delicate, papery, cataclysmic. None of those are poisony. Competitive, timeless, scavenged, callous, dramatic, serpentine, elastic, tanny. Okay, we've got a tanny poison on our hands, bro. Tanny poison. Now, we'll do some secondary ones from the materials. Only obtainable 1 day a year. Explosive, corrosive, when combined with the material. Responsible for the properties of an object. Used to facilitate or mitigate an event. Responsible for the properties of an object. I love that. And also, it gives it just a second use case, right? So this poison isn't just for harming people or animals or whatever, but it's also involved in... It's also responsible for the properties of an object. That's interesting. Let's put some more arrows here. And let's pull another secondary. Useful for writing, carving, or sculpting. Using creating an object that's too similar. Prized by a specific profession. Oh, I like that one. Bright multicolored. Yeah, I read this one already. Let's grab another one just because I want a fresh one. All right, notable family estate. Pay off a debt to a figure or... Oh, I pulled a completely wrong card set. All right, let's do this correct. Notorious taste or smell. Love it, love it, love it. Sound or light altering properties. What the? Myths describe a lost location made of this material. Produced via a ritual conducted by a faction. Well, that's a little too on the nose, right? We've already got the ritual shit going on over there. Especially when there's a notorious taste or smell. Like, you gotta do that one. Alright. Now we've got medicinal or nutritional properties. Stockpiled by a faction, yeah. Discovered or developed by accidents. Imparts the qualities of a creature. I mean, yeah, discovered or developed by accidents. Boom. What was the... Yeah, so, like, primary connections, if they're just next to each other, it's those arrows that are indicating. Right? Because this one, completed collection, got the little material in there, and that's the, connection there. And then anything that's not, overtly connected like that, you would use the tokens, it seems, which is very nice. Okay, I like this. So let's do one more. Responsible for the properties of an object. Let's go ahead and do an object pull and see. I'm going to pull 2 object cards, and we'll pick one. So first we've got staff, communicator, bandana, balloon, or crest, coin, darts, whistle, staff. And then we do a modifier that will point from the poison to the staff. Enthusiastic, inclusive, eerie, intricate. Apocalyptic, blunt, soiled, luminous. A luminous staff. Love it. Alright. Contains a pocket dimension. Causes growth or decay. Used as evidence in the trial of a figure. Wrongly thought to be destroyed in an event. Used as evidence in the trial of a figure. Okay. I like that one. Space distorting properties. Transforming or transmuting properties. Lost or destroyed in an event. Buried with a figure in their grave. Yeah, I like that. I feel like that, along with, this obviously have some sort of, connections there, obviously. Was it buried with, the, whoever used it, or, like, what's their involvement, and how's it, it's good, I like it. Alright, let's see what this one's gonna be. Weak against a specific material. Kept in a specific location. Linked to numerous predictions or prophecies. Speed or strength affecting prophecies. Not feeling any of those are particularly interesting for this specific case. Resistance granting properties, I like. Retractable or clockwork components. Created by or for a notable figure. Modeled after a creature's natural defenses. I think there's so many that are very easy connections to make because you've already got the same card on another thing, so you're basically just like double dipping and it's unnecessary. So like I could easily go with, oh yeah, it was created by or for a notable figure because it's already used by a notable figure or trial of a notable figure. It's buried in someone's grave. But we're gonna go with modeled after a creature's natural defenses. This luminous staff is modeled after a creature's natural defenses. Right now, obviously, we already have a creature on the board. But obviously, I think the better choice would be to make a new creature, which might be something to do. Might be something to do. Let's move this so you can see that there. Boom. So that is a very simple demonstration of how you can use this deck. I'm very excited to finally get it. Like, the Kickstarter was July of last year, so it's been 18 months-ish. So, LOREMASTER's deck. What I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna try and do it without destroying the cards on the board already, because I'll probably expand on it. Let's take a look at another one of those expansion decks. So we already did a quick look at the Master of Gods. Well, we didn't look at any cards, right? Let's take a quick look at read one or two of the deity cards. So same setup, secondary cues, primary cues. So this whole set has the new deity cards and then some brand new cards of the other types. Is for creating deities. So this one, we've got the Parasite, the Reader, the Guide, the Masochist, and the secondary cues that you can use to expand on the primary ones of a different card are vanished after an event. That's the background. So yeah, we got background, agenda, trait, and domain. So those are different types of secondary cues on this. We haven't seen domain ones before, but the other ones we've seen on different cards. So background, vanished after an event. Agenda, revert the world to an earlier age. Domain, the lost, stray, or unsheltered. Trait, made of or covered in a material. And let's look at one more. We got the turtle, the reaper, the redeemer, the squanderer. Domain, war or combat. Trait, attracted or repelled by an object or material. I like that one. Background, created a language. Agenda, tempt or corrupt another deity's chosen one. And we've got a deity icon and a figure icon there. So that is neat. Let's look at, so we've got Master of Symbols, that was Master of Gods. We've got Master of Symbols, and we've got Master of Names. Let's go with Master of Symbols first. I don't know what that one's all about. Namesakes expansion, emblems expansion, deities expansion. So this says namesake expansion. Namesake was a card in the Deck of Worlds set, the previous location building set, that used namesakes as a way to kind of give in-world nicknames for your locations. So I assume that's what that's going to be. And then the Master of Symbols is the emblems expansion, so I guess we'll see what that's about. We got a little pamphlet here. Alright, Master of Symbols. 60 cards adding symbols, glyphs, alphabets, runes, and emblems to lore webs created with the Story Engine deck. That is a lot of new card types. Shuffle the lore cards in with cards of the same type. Keep the emblem cards separate as their own draw pile. Emblems do not count as lore cards, do not have primary cues, and cannot be expanded into their own lore clusters. Draw emblems when prompted by the lore cards in this expansion. You may also draw an emblem as a substitute for a modifier. Okay. Like I said, very complicated stuff. This is very involved. Okay, so these ones are the emblems. They look just like the modifier cards, right? Except they have, as you can see, they don't have text. Not any text I know of. They got emblems, so it's all symbols. Huh. Alright. That is very cool. So let's... Oh, and it's... That is all it is. So even the creature cards, we got nothing but symbols. Oh, I see. So on the regular cards that have the secondary cues are traditional secondary cues, just like the ones we've already got here. So for a creature, we've got 3 traits and a background, which I think was the same as the other ones. So like this creature emblem card, trait, good or bad luck depending on the shape of a marking. It's got a little emblem there. So if we were to pull this down and put it in there with our bat, we would then do an emblem, boom, tucked underneath it, symbolizing the marking that it's referring to. Another trait, leaves behind a unique footprint, trail, or mark, covered in writing or symbols of a specific style, repelled from or bound to a location by a symbol. Love that. Material. Let's see what one of the material ones is. The 2 traits, activates when shaped into or marked with a symbol, produces 2 effects depending on the rune used. See, yeah, there's a lot of, I think even just in this small collection of stuff, right, we've already seen the user trail, you know, we got the animal there, produces effects depending on the runes used, like marking. We've got the staff that you can have markings on that obviously could have magical or some sort of effects. Used in the factions version of a symbol, branded by a world-renowned producer. Objects, location. Let's read a location one. Background. Origin of an alphabet featuring a symbol. Uses a symbol to indicate currency. Home of a branded or marked creature. I like that. Location of a forgotten or forbidden symbol. This is very, very interesting. I think this is a very fun expansion. I think these cards are just always gonna be mixed in with my full deck there. With the other sets, they've got like the different genre themed expansions that are like sci-fi, horror, etc. And some of those, it's I just keep them mixed in always. Like I don't need to take them out. They're always anything that I like write or am working on. It's like we can have a little horror or sci-fi in there, in most cases. And I think these are just gonna be littered in with the main deck, and there's really no reason to take them out. I think that's very exciting, unexpected. I didn't know what to expect there. Now we've got the namesake expansion. We'll go over this quickly, and then we'll look at the bridge expansions. We'll see what's up with those guys. And the bridge expansions, again, are the ones that go and kind of bridge, obviously, the different sets that they've got. Okay, namesakes expansion. 60 cards designed to add titles, epithets, and other lore-based names to lore webs created with the LOREMASTER's deck. 32 variant cards, so 32 modifiers, 28 the main ones, 4 of each of the creatures, objects, locations, etc. When you draw a variant modifier from the expansion, use it to create a nickname for your newly expanded lore card. Review the 8 cues on the card, 4 on each side. Placement of the little triangle icon indicates where the original lore card appears in relation to the modifier text when formulating the name. The icon also works like the arrows on the standard modifier card deck for tracking flows of links. Oh, I see. Okay. So these ones are always going to be, the modifiers, right? So we've got the generic modifiers that can be used for any card, which in these is like Tiny, Luminous, Clairvoyant. These would replace those. So the way these arrows function is showing you what cue this card comes from. The poison here is mentioned in the completing a collection of prompt there. So instead of pulling that, you would pull one of these, and that arrow functions for the same way to keep track of things. So, for example, like if we were trying to name our staff, we've got Farmer's Staff, Staff Who or That Saw, Exile Staff, Rhyming Staff. And just like with the namesake expansion from the Deck of Worlds, they can only be structured in a kind of cookie cutter sort of way. So I imagine most people are going to be doing a lot of tweaking with the namesakes, because otherwise it would just be a bunch of, blank poison, poison blank, right? Blank bat, bat blank. And it's not very fun. But I think it can give you enough of a starting point to come up with something cool that's directly inspired by the namesake card. So we have Sulfur Blank. We have Blank that launched 1,000 ships. Singing Blank. Blood Letters Blank. And then when we go into the creature ones, we've got some icons there on the primary side. Golem, Prowler, Hornet, Goat. Let's see what those primary icons are for drawing a primary lore card. The lore cards in this expansion have specially formatted primary cues. Instead of featuring a one-word cue, they feature part of a nickname that needs to be completed by drawing another primary lore card. So you can see we got a little example right there. We've got the namesake lore card, and then we've got mountain card right there, location card. So for the example, it's voice of the, and then there's a location slash, and then a faction icon. So you can pick one of those and draw a new card to kind of fill in that blank. Oh, I love that. When you draw a primary lore card with the namesake expansion icon, choose your cue as normal. Then review the icons included with that cue and draw the indicated cards. Choose a cue to complete the nickname and tuck it underneath the primary cue. So this becomes voice of the blank, voice of the mountain. That's pretty interesting, actually. And this, that's probably a decent step towards kind of fixing that cookie cutter feel that they tend to have. So this material is known as foxgum. The creature could be expanded into its own lore cluster. That's crazy. That's... This is literally endless. You know, if you just follow these cues pretty, even a little bit, you can run out of table space very quickly. Okay. Now, let's look at one of the bridge expansions. So, World and Lore bridge expansion. So, Deck of Worlds, LOREMASTER. So, LOREMASTER is the new one. Deck of Worlds was the previous one that you used to make locations. And then we've got Story and World, which are the other two decks that have been out for a few years now. And just struggling to open up these damn tuck boxes. And then Story and Lore, a lot of cards. Okay. So let's go through Story and World real quick, and I'll try and go through all of them in a little bit. Not too long. We're approaching 2 hours now, and I'm sure I'm going to continue to play around with the cards, but I think if I can get through all of this in 2 hours, that would be an accomplishment. Okay. Oh, so these are traditional looking cards. These are straight out of the Deck of Worlds, and they're even Deck of Worlds branded. All right, so let's see how this works. And like I mentioned before, Deck of Worlds is my favorite deck that they've done. I did a live stream where I set up like 6 or 7 locations. So much fun. I love it. Okay. Story and World Bridge Expansion. 60 cards designed to enhance the Story Engine deck. Prompts using cards from Deck of Worlds and vice versa. So 15 engines, 15 conflicts, 8 origins, 14 attributes, and 8 advents. So engines and conflicts were oh, this is Story and World. Okay, let's still go through it. So engines and conflicts are from the Story Engine. So that's from the first deck they did, and those were basically things that motivate people and things that get in the way of people. And then origins and advents were from Deck of Worlds, and those were significant events in the history of a location. And advents were modern day events of a location that can be the springboard of a story, or, you know, kind of predictor of the location's future. And then attributes are kind of like modifier cards for the locations. Alright, so how do these cards work together? Cards in this expansion contain cues that prompt you to draw cards from... oh, give me 1 second. Too much reading. Cards in this expansion contain cues that prompt you to draw cards from other decks to add detail to them. Icons separated by a slash indicate that you draw multiple cards and select one. Icons separated by a plus indicate that you draw multiple cards and keep all of them. Unless otherwise specified, tuck any cards under the Bridge expansion queue in the order they appear. Story Engine deck cards from this expansion are marked with the if you ever saw the Ghost in the Shell anime, it's got a symbol that's kind of like from that. If you draw one of these cards, select your cue as normal, and then follow the instructions below. Alright, engine. Review the icons on your chosen cue. Rather than drawing and placing the card that this engine would normally be oriented towards, instead draw a deck of world cards that indicate types, and choose one or more to use in its place. Huh. Interesting. So they're kind of like placeholder cards. Huh. Okay, one more time. Review the icons on your chosen cue. So we got an engine card right here. So like this has a flurry of icons. It's got a region and a landmark icon, and got two event icons. Okay, so if you pull this cue, then it wants you to draw a region and a landmark card and pick one. And then it wants you to draw two advent cards and then pick one. Oh my god. This is very confusing. Okay, so they've got a little example. So, a heretic wants to commune with the spirits of a divine city, but they will have to let dark forces into the sanctum. So, a heretic wants to commune with the spirits of, and then we got a location and a region card here, and we've got a location card right there, or a region card, and that's got a modifier card, an attribute card, and then there we go, the red one over here is, but they will have to let dark forces into their sanctum, and their sanctum is a tower. Okay. It's kind of confusing when you just read it and flip through the cards on their own and just see the 9,000 symbol in each one. But obviously, it seems like it flows the same way that the original story deck prompts flow. So if you've used them and you're kind of familiar with them, I'm sure incorporating this bridge expansion and bringing in those deck of world cards will kind of feel, at home. So that's the expansion set that merges the original two decks. Let's go ahead and move into this one that merges the deck of worlds and this brand new set right here. We've got, oh man, these are just littered with with symbols and stuff. Okay, let's see. These ones have like the modifier ones there. So this one's a mixture. So these are like the new design from the LOREMASTERs with the primary cues, secondary cues, and these are like the old school design with some advanced cards there. We got some attribute cards, origin cards. Alright, World and Lore Bridge Expansion. Alright, 60 cards. 8 origins, 14 attributes, 8 advents, 4 factions, 4 figures, 4 events, 4 locations, 4 objects, 4 materials, 4 creatures, and 2 deities. Which was from that other, the first expansion we took a look at. Okay. Whew. We're getting into it here. Deck of Worlds cards from this expansion are marked with this, is it a sun? Sun or a flower or a snowflake symbol, whatever that guy is there. Cues on these cards contain icons from LOREMASTER's deck. If you draw one, select your cue as normal and complete it as though it is a link cue, which is the little connections there. If it helps to flesh out your prompt, you may expand these lore cards into full lore clusters, linking them to your world map using link tokens. Oh boy. I kind of want to just really get situated and familiarized with this, the LOREMASTER deck, the new one, the bridge expansions, and I just want to I don't know, turn on the camera and just go for 10 hours and just fill up. This is a 2-foot by 4-foot folding table, and I've got like 4 or 5 of them. I got the space. I can do it, and I'll do it all. I'll do it all. There will be no more cards left unused from these decks. I'll have to wait for some vacation time to accumulate from work, but I'll make that happen at some point. Alright, LOREMASTER's deck with these cards from this expansion marked with the symbol. We have the same symbol as the last one. The little, split circle thing. Okay. Primary lore cue. Review the icons. I mean, it seems to be very similar. Okay, so let's look at this example right here. And we'll read the little caption. This lore web began with a creature, the dreaded Mine Cobra, which is going to be this one right here. So that's from the other expansion we looked at, right? So it's got the symbols in front of Cobra, and you pull those cards to give you what that name, like what that fills in. So that's Cobra, and he was asked to pull a material, a location, or a region. He pulled a mine, so it's a Mine Cobra. The lore web began with a creature, the dreaded Mine Cobra, which is linked to the origin, folk song, of a landmark peak, right there. Perhaps the folk song describes the solitary creature. Next, the peak was expanded into a location-type lore cluster. The peak was? Yes. Peak. Oh, I see right here. So it starts off like this, right? And then he separated the peak into its own cluster right here. And you see it's got the modifier cards with the arrow, so you know where it came from. Next, the peak was expanded into a location-type lore cluster with its origin being incorporated as a secondary cue. The origin right over there. Whew, boy. Tips for bridge cues. Bridge cues work best when approached with flexible thinking. At first, some card pairings may seem unintuitive or work differently than the ones you are used to. Keep in mind that the least expected connection often holds the richest creative material. Dive in with an open mind. Feel free to adapt the process to suit your preferences, to discard or draw additional cards, to explore alternate card pairings, and to invent new card arrangements, to map the connections between cues. Landmarks and locations use the same card type icon. These card types are often interchangeable despite appearing in different decks. Yeah, we saw the actual symbol be repeated sometimes. So for the anchor here, and the story engine deck, the original one, the anchor symbols were anchors, was what they were called, and they were objects or minor locations. And then in the LOREMASTER deck, we've got figures, which were same symbol, but were called agents in the story engine deck. Oh boy, that's a lot. But I think it is overwhelming to see all these different symbols and stuff. But all they really don't fundamentally change how you would play around with the cards and how they would read, for example. So I think it's just an issue of, you have to actually, get your hands dirty, so to speak, and then it'll be pretty intuitive once you get into it. Alright, so this is the bridge expansion that integrates the lore deck that we just got with the story engine deck that came out a while back now. 60 cards again. We've got 15 engines, 15 conflicts, 4 factions, 4 figures, 4 events, 4 locations, 4 objects, 4 materials, 4 creatures, and 2 deities. Alright. Oh my god. Okay. The first example here, you can see an apprentice wants to capture a secret chimera, but the flesh will be transformed into scales. So, in this series, we can see that we've got an apprentice wants to capture, then we've got a figure icon and a creature icon, and they chose a creature, and they chose a chimera, and they gave it a secret attribute. So it's a secret chimera, and we've got the conflict card here, but their flesh will be transformed, and there's a creature icon and a material icon, and the material that they chose was scales. So it actually is pretty straightforward once you're looking at it, right? Now, this one just looks terrifying. So we've got a series of lore clusters. The first one has an incredible amount of cards linked in, all tucked under there. And we've got a couple other ones. Or we've got it being split into 2 clusters, right? So this is how it starts off, and then it gets broken up. We see the superhuman wants to control a village right there. Gets broken off into its own thing with some additional modifiers tucked underneath there. And just like before, we got the arrows pointing towards the card in the direction that it came from. So this prompt began with the Couriers Guild, a faction formed in response to the threat of a superhuman who wants to control a village. Then the superhuman agent card was expanded into a figure-type lore cluster, with the tucked engine and anchor being included in the new cluster as a secondary link queue on the right side. So, overwhelming at first, but I do feel like because there is some level of consistency with all of the sets and even with the weird expansions and stuff, they have card types from each set and have you pulling thousands of icons and stuff. I do think that this works out pretty significantly. And these ones are significantly well. And these are interesting. If you look at these ones, some of these are just having to pull trait cards. So each one actually seems to have one side that is just trait cards, right? So that's interesting. And the other 3 sides have some specific text for that card along with pulling some cards. Oh, man. Oh, boy. Okay, we're at almost 2 hours. So I think that's good for now. We went through all we went through all the expansion decks. I got, so to summarize, I got almost everything that you could get in the crowdfunding campaign. That was the gigantic main LOREMASTER's deck. That was the 3 big expansions: Story and World, World and Lore, Story and Lore. That was the other 3 expansions that are kind of all their own thing. Master of Gods, we got Master of Names, we got Master of Symbols. We got a cool ass bag of little multicolored pointer path making tokens for when stuff gets way too complicated. And yeah. So what this cost me, 18 months ago during the crowdfunding campaign was $114. Which I think is, when you consider that Reckless Deck Psyche, which albeit had a lot more cards, I think even with the expansions, because that was a 2,000 card set, and that was $200. The main LOREMASTER's deck is 300 cards, and then we had about another 360 cards in the expansions. So that's not even half of the Reckless Deck Psyche. So yeah, I think that was good value. I quite like it. The cards, all the cards that the Story Engine have done from even the previous sets and these ones are just, they feel great. I love the square design. They're always very creative with how they set up the prompts and combine them on the cards themselves. And then of course I got the 2 little pins, which if you're a fan of pins, and I think I'm a fan of pins, these feel really good. In particular, the Weave Your Lore one. It is it feels really good. Really good texture on it. I love it. Was that all I got? I think that was all I got. Which is enough. It was plenty. This is quite a lot to go through. And I'm having fun. I can't wait to go through it more, and I really want to at some point just be like, just devote a really big time frame to building out a massive lore web, and just see what fun comes about from that. Alright. If this was kind of fun or kind of interesting, you can always go to Ko-Fi, ko-fi, ko-fi.com/animalcrackerart, and either subscribe there or do a little donation, or just subscribe to me on YouTube, Animal page, Animal Art webpage. Well, I'm gonna have some pictures all this stuff on YouTube. And also, I'll have a link to your Deck of World stuff. Alright, that was fun. Thank you. Happy holidays, happy New Year, all that stuff.